What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to today's video, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you 10 assets from least likely to most likely that I think could be moved in the 2019 offseason. So I asked you guys on my community tab, give me real NBA videos to talk about, and today I'm doing, like I said, top 10 assets that I think could get moved in the offseason. Am I saying all of these are going to get traded? Absolutely not. Am I saying even one of these are going to get probably traded? Probably not a huge chance, but I just wanted to make a video of 10 assets that are actually valuable assets that could be moved in the offseason. I'm not talking role players, bench warmers, second round picks. I'm talking about highly coveted assets. Also, if you enjoyed me kind of talking about the NBA and you guys want to see these maybe weekly, because I enjoy doing these, not all, and taking maybe a little bit of a break from rebuilds here and there, just maybe drop a like on this video. So coming in at number 10 on this list is Mo Bamba. Now, I kind of just needed somebody to fill this 10th spot, and if I had to bet money, or if I had to bet my life on if Mo Bamba was going to get traded or not, I probably wouldn't say he's going to get traded. I don't think the Magic are going to give him that short of a lease, but there is a way that he could be on the market. Nikola Vucevic has arguably had one of the better seasons of a center this year, a breakout year, could have been a most improved candidate, kind of getting snubbed in that regard, and he's been pretty much their best player since they've traded Dwight Howard over half a decade ago. Now, Mo Bamba did have injury concerns, and Vucevic plays the same position as them, and they also really can't coexist because they do have Jonathan Isaac usually playing the 4 and Aaron Gordon playing the 3, and it really wouldn't make sense to use that high of a pick if you're going to retain Vucevic, and this is only if they retain Vucevic. Obviously, if they let Vucevic go and say a team like Dallas or LA throws them a lot of money, then obviously Mo Bamba won't be moved. But if they're like, we need to bring back Vucevic, he's been the best player we've had in a minute, maybe Mo Bamba will be on the market. Coming in at number 9 on this list is Frank Ntilikina. Now, to sum up pretty much, Frank Ntilikina's first 2 years in New York has been very disappointing, if you just want to use one word. Him being disappointing pretty much pertains of him having lack of aggressiveness, poor shooting, poor coaching, and just injuries. In his first year, he did deal with minor injuries, and this year he had a groin injury that sidelined him for most of the year. And it's unfortunate because he's never really had a real shot in New York as the starting point guard. Moutier has, Dennis Smith Jr. has, even Jarrett Jack has in the last 2 years. But Frank Ntilikina, their number 7 overall pick number 8 overall pick, from the 2017 draft, has yet to have a true shot at the starting point guard position. He's shown flashes of elite defense. He's shown flashes of great ball vision and passing, being able to kind of run an offense. But his offensive game outside of that, hence anything to do with scoring, hasn't been good. And with the Knicks having ties to either Kemba Walker or Kyrie Irving in free agency, also with the addition of Dennis Smith Jr., and who knows what's going to happen on draft night if they end up with Ja Morant or somebody like that. There's been rumors that Ntilikina might be moved on draft night for a mid to late first round pick, and that's why he's coming in at number 9 on my list. Coming in at number 7 on my list isn't exactly one player. It could just be a group of players, or just, I don't know. But the way I'm going at is a star that's going to get eliminated from the playoffs, kind of like how DeMar DeRozan was traded last year, but I'll go into it. So mainly when this comes to mind, going into this playoffs, I immediately thought of CJ McCollum. I've been saying this for a minute now, that they should pull what Toronto did and try to move CJ McCollum like they moved DeRozan, but obviously with Kawhi Leonard being available, that was just a blessing for Toronto. But Portland is up 2-0 on the Thunder, so maybe that's not going to happen, and they're going to get their first playoff series win in a couple years. Other guys could be Kyle Lowry, Blake Griffin, Gary Harris, LaMarcus Aldridge. There's a bunch of guys that I think playoff teams might be like, all right, it's not going to work with this exact team. We need to blow it up, or we need to at least move on from our asset and take a look at what Toronto did last year and upgraded their team. If maybe a star on the market requests a trade, and the team doesn't want to rebuild, they don't want picks in return, they don't want a young player, they want a proven all-star like the Spurs got in DeRozan, and a playoff team like this couple I mentioned might be disappointed with their playoff run and might maybe unload one of their better players. Coming in at number 7 is Kevin Love. Now, Kevin Love did get a massive extension at the beginning of the year, 4-year, $130 million. It's a lot of money a year. It's about 30 mil per year for an aging power forward that really is not worth 30 mil whatsoever. A Cavs team that has a good chance of getting a top 5 pick in this draft that can add a Zion Williamson or an RJ Barrett to pair along with Colin Sexton. The Cavs might just try to throw Kevin Love on the market because there's really no point for him to be on that team. The timetables just don't really work, and he's getting older, so maybe a team in a win-now situation might want to pick him up. A team that I kind of heard of was Minnesota. I don't know if that front court would work with Love and Cat, and I don't know if a reunion in Minnesota even makes sense. But there are teams out there, maybe like Utah or Denver or Phoenix, that might just want a veteran. And you know what? Maybe their young players aren't free agents till 2022 anyway, or 2021, when Love's contract is going to be expiring or running up. And they might try to buy low on a former All-Star. Coming in at number 6 is a guy that I think will only get traded if he requests it, and that is Bradley Beal. Now, Bradley Beal, I think, has come out and said money really doesn't matter, and he doesn't mind the Supermax, but he also doesn't mind playing in Washington, and he's not really angry there. He's not fed up over their last kind of losing season, and last year they lost in the first round, and John Wall is going to be out all of next year, so there's a good chance Washington might not even be a playoff team next year. Yes, they'll have a top 10 pick, but with John Wall's huge contract, and they do have a couple other bad contracts, it really limits them, and they might want to just reset a little bit and, you know, get some assets for Bradley Beal. It might honestly be the smarter decision because his value is at an all-time high after this year. And hey, if they can get a top 5 pick in the draft, or maybe a really, really good young asset, maybe the Lakers will call them up. Who knows? I don't know, but maybe Bradley Beal could get moved. And this is only, I think, if he requested trade. I don't know if the organization would really move on from him, but maybe it would be the smarter decision to do so, not because he's a bad player by any means, and who knows, he could be the best player on a championship team, but you might need to just take one step back to take a giant step forward. Alright, now coming into the top 5 is Jayson Tatum. Now, we all know kind of why Jayson Tatum would be traded, and that would be involved in an Anthony Davis trade, and this would all result on Kyrie Irving's free agency decision. Now, I don't think Jayson Tatum would get moved for Anthony Davis if Kyrie Irving leaves Boston. I think that'd be very stupid, and I think that would just be throwing away your whole, like, successful 3-year rebuild, or not even 3-year rebuild, like a very short rebuild that you've built up all these assets over the last 4 or 5 years in Boston, just to throw it away for maybe a 1-year rental in AD. But hey, Boston could make the conference finals. They could even make the NBA finals, and Kyrie's, you know what? We have something big here. He's going to stay, and the Celtics, all right, Kyrie, we're going to get you that second superstar, and we're going to get you Anthony Davis, and you would have Anthony Davis and Kyrie, who are good friends, and obviously New Orleans would only do that trade if it involved Jayson Tatum and obviously other picks. So that's why Jayson Tatum comes in the top 5 on my list, because obviously he would be the main asset in an Anthony Davis trade. Coming in at number 4 is, I guess, one of 3 players, but it could be all 3 of them, and that is pretty much the Lakers' young core. And the 3 players are obviously Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, and Lonzo Ball. They are going to have a top 10 pick in this draft as well, which could be a nice asset. Now, these 3, I think, all could be traded for Anthony Davis if the Pelicans don't get any better offer. I don't think they really want to trade with LA, but they did just hire David Griffin as their new GM or president of operations or whatever. So I really don't know what's going to happen with the LA's young core in the offseason. Are they just going to keep them and just sign one free agent and just go into next year? Or are they going to try to move them for maybe a better proven star to pair up with LeBron? Because LeBron is getting older. He's not going to have many 27, 8, and 8 years left. So you might want to pair up actual proven superstars with him. But if I'm the Lakers, I'm trying to keep Lonzo Ball off limits. I would move Ingram and Kuzma over Lonzo. But who knows? This kind of is like the Jayson Tatum thing. Will they all be moved for Anthony Davis? Could they be all moved for like a Bradley Beal? But yeah, I'm going to guess one of the Lakers' young core, so one of those 3 could be traded in the offseason. All right, now coming into the top 3 is Mike Conley. I think this would definitely forward the trade if the Grizzlies get very lucky in the lottery and they're able to land a Darius Garland or especially a John Morant. They could also end up with a Kobe White and be Mike Conley's successor. But if a team strikes out on either Kyrie Irving or Kemba Walker or John Morant in free agency, trading for Mike Conley would not be a bad idea whatsoever. There is a perfectly good argument. If you have a good team already, Mike Conley might be a lot more useful to your team than Kemba Walker would be. Yes, Mike Conley is making a decent amount of money, but he doesn't have many years left on his contract. And I'm looking at you, Indiana. I'm looking at you, Utah. Make a trade for Mike Conley if you don't land Kemba Walker. Yes, you can go out and get Kemba Walker. It's going to cost you probably around what you would be taking in for Mike Conley salary-wise, but you would not have to give up any trade assets. But if you strike out on them, Mike Conley's value might not be that high, and they might take a mid-first round pick and a solid young player. Maybe Utah could do their first Allen and Rubio, I don't know, or Indiana could do Aaron Holiday in their first. I'm just throwing out ideas. I actually have no idea what can happen, but I would love to see one of these teams add Mike Conley, who is probably the most underrated point guard in the league. I think he's a top 7 point guard. He's an incredible defender, incredibly smart player. He, I think, never had a technical foul in his career, so he's just a smart guy, and I think a team should pick up Mike Conley, but it just matters if Memphis wants to kind of trade their quote-unquote franchise player over the last couple years. Okay, we're moving into the top 2, and number 2 isn't a player, it's a pick. My prediction is a top 5 pick will be moved in the offseason. So last offseason, we saw the same thing happen with the Atlanta Hawks moving down from 3 to pick 5, so the Mavericks can move up and get Luka Doncic. I can see the same thing happen here, especially if Phoenix and Chicago both move down out of the top 3, and whoever is at pick 2 might want to move down in the draft if one of them want to throw up a premier asset to get Ja Morant. Even if one is at 3 and the other is at 4, say hypothetically the draft goes Knicks at 1, Cavs at 2, Suns at 3, Bulls at 4, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bulls offer the Cavs a deal to move up from 4 to 2 to jump Phoenix to steal Ja Morant, or vice versa if Phoenix was at 4 and Chicago was at 3. Because there's a couple teams that maybe wouldn't draft a point guard at 2, like the Cavs who have Colin Sexton, like the Knicks who maybe just would rather have RJ Barrett because they have Dennis Smith Jr. and maybe and Frank Ntilikina and maybe eyes on Kemba Walker, Kyrie Irving in free agency. A team like Atlanta that has Trae Young, I don't know if really you want to roll out Ja Morant and Trae Young. Really wouldn't work defensively. Both kind of need their ball in their hands. So I could see a team like Phoenix or Chicago, if they land out of the top 3 or even out of the top 2 in general, to try to jump up to pick 2 and get Ja Morant. Now, the number 1, I think most likely player to get traded in the offseason, I think you all could have guessed it, Anthony Davis. I don't know if Anthony Davis was any close to getting traded at the deadline. It all might have been some smoke screen by the Pels to kind of ruin the Lakers' chemistry. Or maybe the deal was close and it just fell apart last second. But I think Anthony Davis has played his last game as a Pelican, and that era is being moved on as he was drafted there with the number 1 pick in 2012. So it's been 7 years, and I don't know where he's going to play for next year. Could it be the Lakers? Could it be the Celtics? Could it be the Knicks? Could it be the Bulls? Could it be the Clippers? Could it be the Bucks? Could it be some other random team that we have no idea of, like Denver? I don't know. But I think Anthony Davis won't be a Pelican at the start of next year. His value might go down. It's an expiring deal. We'll see what's going to happen. If I had to guess where he's going to go, I always still want to say LA because I feel like they have the most to offer him, and they're the team that just like, I guess the most or the least to lose. Like, they just don't care. Like, other teams might be skeptical, like Boston or New York. They don't know if they want to give up a huge young asset for Anthony Davis. But the Lakers, obviously with the whole LeBron thing, he's not getting any younger. You need to add a superstar to him now if you ever want to compete for a title with LeBron. And they might just do it. If I had to guess, I would say the Lakers. But obviously a lot changes if Kyrie stays. If Kyrie stays, then I would bet a lot of money on Boston trading for Anthony Davis. I think it's going to be either Boston or LA. I hope it's not my Knicks. I hope if the Knicks get the chance to draft Zion, they're not stupid enough to move Anthony Davis, and they can actually just have one of the nice young, like the most valuable young asset in the NBA, like the NBA has seen in a while. Maybe since Ben Simmons was drafted, since Anthony Davis was drafted. But yeah, that is going to wrap out 10 assets or players or picks, whatever you want to call it, that I think could be traded in the offseason. Obviously, as we got higher into the list, more likely I think they could be moved in the offseason. But yeah, let me know what you disagreed with me, because I know you guys definitely disagreed with some of it, and let me know what you agreed with, or if I didn't mention any players, let me know in the comments, because I find this very interesting, and there could be somebody that I didn't even think of that could be moved, or it'd be smart to move them, or a pick, or something in the offseason. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I love you guys a lot. Let me know in the comments also any other real NBA talk suggestions you want to see. Do you want to see a 2017 redraft? I might do one of those soon. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.